Hi and welcome back. Today we are talking about hiring good salespeople, which naturally we've done a lot of over the last couple of years, so thanks for joining me again. Chaps, Simon, let's start with you. What's your perception, firstly, of a good salesperson?
I think it starts right at the beginning. I think there's so much variance in what can make a good salesperson. There's so much when it comes to style, approach, experience, industries that they've worked in, industries that they've targeted. Even within those industries, the position, role, seniority, and departments of which a decision maker can work in. You've then got the different types of sales, whether it's telephony based, whether it's more face to face, whether it's business development, and then the value of the products and the services they're selling, and then whether it's a service or a solution or a product.
Yeah.
So there's so many variables. I think that you've got to be able to look at people not just on paper and from one experience, or try and mould them on what you necessarily think makes a good salesperson. There's so many moving variables with it. Yeah, okay. It's a real challenge.
So let's talk, Simon, about telephone-based sales, inside sales roles. What are the key traits that you see with the most successful people in our team or anywhere else you've worked with phone-based sales?
That they might have different personalities. And I mean this in the nicest way. They're normal, they can create relationships, they just talk fluently to people, so there's not this urgency to get a sales pitch straight in there, and they will broach a relationship first. It's a really permission-based, gentle language to get themselves in, almost that the person doesn't realise they're being sold to. So we can get away with people thinking it's not a cold call. In my head, that would be a perfect start to a conversation. So I just think it's, you know, when you meet those people and they've just got rapport, and you just get on with them, and you don't really know why, and you end up probably you've bought something from them. That to me can then go across, that can transcend all the industries or verticals, or it doesn't matter what they're selling, because they've picked up on these people skills with people and they know how to orchestrate a conversation.
Yeah. When you've interviewed for salespeople, are there certain things that you look for? So for me, I love it when somebody in an interview challenges me. So they'll challenge me, or they'll ask that awkward question that most candidates wouldn't ask, because it shows me that they're brave, it shows me that they're prepared to go that extra mile to do the right thing. Are there things that you kind of look for or really like when you see it in an interview?
I agree with that completely. Someone who's going to challenge, because it shows that on a conversation or within a sales process that they're going to ask those difficult questions as well. It's always going to be tough to ask.
The sales isn't easy, is it?
It isn't, and being able to ask, are we the only supplier that you're talking to? You know, what's the reasons that you wouldn't work with me? You know, these are things that you would put into a sales process, and naturally, if they're already asking them into an interview. I think you've got the obvious ones, you know, enthusiastic, they've got to have a personality. And I think as much as you can train people to be good salespeople, a lot of it is a natural skill and ability. You talked about building rapport and relationships and being able to ask those questions and uncover challenges that businesses are having. I think there's an element of that comes as a natural instinct and a natural inquisitiveness about people. And then you can train the process, you can train around the rest. So that enthusiasm piece is key, but it's a fairly basic requirement. Certainly I say like when people challenge. And then ultimately people who have got bigger ambitions, I think you've got to be passionate, you've got to be driven. You can't come into sales as just doing it for a paycheck. It's we wrote a blog about this recently. You know, it's not just a job, it's an entire lifestyle commitment. And you need to be in a position where you're driven for that next goal, that next vision, that next expansion, that next position. You can't just come into sales from 9 till 5. Not only will you underperform, but you'll absolutely hate it and you'll be terrible at the job. So you've got to be.
So what do you mean? Reading books, listening to podcasts, watching videos, learning about it outside of work?
Yeah, I think anyone who wants to be within any industry, not just sales, you've got to have an element of drive to make yourself better at the role you do. But with sales, because it moves so quickly, I mean, just as a small example, you know, 2-3 years ago, I was able to have a conversation with one decision maker. They would maybe need sign off from one more senior person, deal was done. Nowadays, it's 6-7 layers of sign off on average within a business. And on top of that, it can be multi-continental as to where that sign off needs to come from as well. And if people aren't keeping up with those trends and those differences and the requirement that it takes to now complete a sale on that level and go through that decision-making process, you're going to fall by the wayside. So you've got to be driven on as a career, not just.
And it's about attitude. So I guess it's about identifying whether people will listen, are trainable, can mould and adapt. Because of course, change in sales is so critical. prospects change their mind all the time,
But you
opportunities
can get
are
that.
different.
People can do that in an interview, right? So the first thing they've got to do is turn up on time. They've got to stick to what,
Not be wearing
stick to their
flip-flops or
word.
shorts.
More difficult than you think.
Yeah. And what I think is in sales, so you have certain people who will go off topic and they stay off topic. But in an interview, what's quite nice is if they come with their own structure. So they turn up on time, they have a bit of structure to their own interview. They've got a good handshake, a good smile.
So a bit of control over the situation.
Yeah, because that's what you're looking to see into the role, and then they'll ask you at the end, how did it go? Maybe some feedback, and then when are we going to talk next? But what I think most is that if they go off topic, but then come back, so they're in control, so they allow a bit of flexibility around the conversation. But you can bring them back in.
There's a purpose to it. It's coming back into something. It's like objection handling. You go off the process that you're trying to go through. You deal with that objection. You go through
rapport and everything
and
else.
they'll
But
come back.
they'll come back and just there's no problem. I think we spoke about this recently. To ask you from your point of view, how do you think it went? Is there anything else I can do? Can I ask some feedback? Is it alright if I give you a call tomorrow? How many more people do you see? If someone asks you those questions, you'd be in awe in an interview, wouldn't you? Because you'd think, and that's exactly, I haven't even taught you anything.
That's what you want them asking prospects, those sorts of questions.
Yeah.
It's at the end of interview as well. The worst case, and I've interviewed plenty of salespeople who do it. You get to the end of the interview and you say, "Have you got any questions for me?"
No, I'm fine.
And they go, "No, I'm fine."
Covered everything.
Covered,
in an hour.
really? You haven't got a single question about my business, about us, about how we do things, about what your day-to-day role. There's nothing, because I know I'm not that good, that I've covered everything within an hour. And it's shocking because you think it'll be exactly the same process when they're in a sales call. No, not interested. Oh, okay, fine. Where's the inquisitiveness?
And I think recruitment is also as much about your process as it is about the person in front of you and what they say and how they say it. So I know somebody very well who's recruited salespeople for a long time, has a really simple philosophy, which is that if they won't phone them back after the interview on purpose, and they will wait for them to phone them. So if they don't phone them, that's it, done. Because salespeople follow up. Because salespeople are persistent, they're brave, they do that, they go that extra mile to win. They're tenacious. And if you come to an interview and you want the job and you haven't heard 48 hours later, if you were a good salesperson, what do you do?
I'll be at the office.
Turn up
at the office.
You pick up the phone and you chase, and at the very least you expect an email, ideally a phone call with sales. Everybody emails, set yourself apart, differentiate
How
yourself.
much difference is there when someone walks in with a CV? Right? So instead of just sending them blankly and anonymously and you don't know who it is, very hard to differentiate. Very hard to differentiate. So when someone walks in and says, "Can I speak to someone?" Here you go, and puts it on your desk. Immediately there's a first impression, isn't there? And as an employer, you want to get to that person before somebody else does. I think there's also a danger, isn't there, when people are interviewing salespeople, because salespeople by their own mission, we're all the best, right? So I'm better than you, you're better than me. So that's just our industry. We want to be the best. So we try and hire people like us, but we know we've got 70, people on the dining hall that are all different walks of life, different personalities, all good for different products. So I suppose there's a responsibility from the employer's point of view to have a slight flexibility. So the traits have to be the same, but the exterior can be very different. Very fair.
I think so, and the amazing thing is you try and box what's a good salesperson. Actually, it's hard to tell a lot of the time.
Because that's what I said at the beginning, the variables.
I've worked with real introverts, people who are quiet, very reserved. Give them a phone to sort of talk to somebody, and maybe it's the fact that they are calm, consistent, relaxed, not overly enthusiastic, very authentic and genuine, and they've been exceptional. Whereas we all sort of automatically lean to somebody who needs a big personality and who's enthusiastic and all that sort of stuff. So there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, but I do think that there's a process-driven thing around exposing people to the role or to the environment before they get in, because how many salespeople, particularly in telesales, inside sales, leave within the first 3 months? You hear about high retention rates, and a lot of that is about cultural fit or the same sort of philosophy that you've got. We have a certain structure. Some people like that, some people don't. Some people fit in it, some people will adapt, some can't. So let's expose them to that. And we have that process. Yes, we interview, phone interview, face to face, but we also do the half day, sit in the team, see the job being done, because I would rather somebody said, "This job isn't for me," before they took the job, because it's better for us and it's better for them. Absolutely, and it's better for them because they don't get a job on their CV that lasted 2 months, or that could be them not accepting another job that might have been a better fit. So the more you expose candidates during that process, the more they get the opportunity to say, "Hey, it's not right for me." And I always think that's a good win-win, whereas I'd seen organisations in the past not allow that to be seen, and people get in on the first day and they go, "Oh, I didn't realise this.
And it's also good for you to get another opinion on it.
Absolutely.
Because we might
Yeah.
see something in it.
Yeah.
In
They're not going to work with us all day, every day. It's the people sat next to them.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
It makes me laugh as well. I think back to a decade ago, or maybe a little bit more, but just when I was starting in the sales career, and sales jobs used to be quite readily advertised in the newspaper. That there wasn't as such an emphasis on the likes of the sites that you have nowadays. And I remember sitting and looking at the newspaper, and they would have job advertisements that were very cryptic, and they almost tried to avoid the fact of saying this is a telemarketing job.
It's a sales job, yeah.
Like you're going to get in there and not quite realise that it's a sales
You
job.
have to make a cold
Yeah,
call.
yeah. Whereas, like you say, it's that exposure. What is the point of bringing an SDR into a role where all of a sudden you're pretending that it's something that it's not? It doesn't benefit anyone.
But do you see those adverts that like, you must be hungry, you've got to be a tiger, you've got to do this, uncapped earnings underneath OTE 17 grand.
Yeah.
Go away, you do as much as you can.
Yeah, you make me 5 million, I'll pay you a bit more.
Yeah, so there's almost a bit that you start off trying to hire the wrong person that is just looking for that. When actually there's not much meat on the bones of like uncapped out. Just be normal. Give a rough guide on how much you could, and some of the top performers that's realistic. Get some normal people in who are going to do
It's
a
honesty,
good,
and you'll
reliable
retain
job.
them as well, because they're not being. It's the same with clients. It's about not overselling, realistic on expectation, and almost under promise and over deliver. It's great coming in and saying we do these fantastic social events, and you could be in a sales director role or an account director role. Realistically, you've got 6, 12, 18, 2 years worth of hard graft. 200 calls a day, 150 calls a day, being told no by 98% of those calls. It's a hard job to get to those more senior roles, and there's no point coming in and alluding to the fact that they're easy to grasp. And it's the same with any organisation. I think 90% of salespeople, if they're honest, probably started quite low down the rungs within any organisation that they're in, and they've moved, they've experienced, they've maybe had some sideways and parallel moves, but ultimately are moving up that ladder.
Because a good salesperson has got loads of different experiences, right? So they've learned from failures, they've learned from everything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what makes them good, so they know when to come up against it. So when people do come on board and they're fresh, there's also, in some businesses, there's an expectation that you must be doing, there must be. What I like about what you've created here is that there's almost there's a bit of time to bed in. Nothing's really expected of you in the first week. Go and learn where everything is, meet someone, come out on a social, and that's a really nice way to get people relaxed. Because if you're fraught on the phone and someone's looking after you and micromanaging you and like making a little checklist of what you can't perform, can you?
So what we've established is that it's as much about knowing what you're looking for and identifying what does the right person look about, but it is about the process as well. Guys, it's been really good talking to you. We've run out of time. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.
Great.